Good evening. This is All India Radio and I am Gaura Dhawanlal with the news at 9. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterates India's commitment to early conclusion of comprehensive and balanced regional economic partnership. On the sidelines of East Asia Summit in Singapore, Prime Minister holds talks with the Singaporean, Australian and Thai counterparts to boost bilateral relations. Election campaign picks up in Madhya Pradesh and Mizoram as deadline for withdrawal of nominations ends. Election Commission expresses satisfaction over preparations for assembly polls in Madhya Pradesh. Winter session of Parliament to be held from 11 December to 8th January. Communication satellite GSAT-29 launched successfully from Sriharikota. And in Badminton, PV Sindhu, Verma and Kidambi Srikanth advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of Hong Kong Open. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today reiterated India's commitment to an early conclusion of a high-quality, comprehensive and balanced regional economic partnership agreement. Intervening in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP summit in Singapore, Mr. Modi urged all leaders to give the required mandate to their trade ministers so that RCEP negotiations can be concluded at the earliest. Prime Minister Modi said that the finalized agreement should be modern, comprehensive, balanced and mutually beneficial. Negotiations are on amongst the 10 ASEAN countries and 6 Asia-Pacific states with which ASEAN has a free trade agreement. India, China, Australia, Japan, South Korea and New Zealand are such countries. Briefing the media after the summit, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Sudhanshu Pandey, said the Prime Minister stressed the need for an early conclusion of the negotiations by fast-tracking and intensifying negotiations bilaterally and multilaterally.
The Prime Minister complimented trade ministers and negotiators for substantial progress that has been made, particularly in 2018. He noted that significant progress has been made in the market access negotiations of goods, but also highlighted that we need to make similar efforts to make progress in services negotiations as they constitute more than 50% of the GDP of most of the ASEAN countries.
The Prime Minister today held bilateral meetings with the Singaporean, Australian and Thai counterparts on the margins of the East Asia Summit in Singapore. In his meeting with Singapore's Prime Minister, Lee Hsien Loong, the two leaders exchanged views on cooperation in financial technology, enhanced connectivity and regional economic integration. Mr. Modi also met Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. The two leaders had a good discussion on deepening ties in trade and investment, defence and security, and other areas of bilateral cooperation. Stepping up engagement with a valued regional partner as a part of the Act East policy, Mr. Modi met the Prime Minister of Thailand, General Prayut Chan-o-cha. They discussed cooperation in trade and investment, defence and security, and connectivity. Earlier in the day, Mr. Modi delivered the keynote address at the Singapore FinTech Festival. He said, technology is creating boundless opportunities to transform the lives of the people. Mr. Modi said, technology is defining competitiveness and power in the new world. He said, it is a great honor for him to be the first head of government to deliver this address at the event.
FinTech Festival is also a celebration of belief. Belief in the spirit of innovation and the power of imagination. Belief in the energy of youth and the passion for change. Belief in making the world a better place. And it is no surprise that in just its third year, this festival is already the world's largest festival.
Mr. Modi reached Singapore this morning on a 2-day visit to attend the East Asia Summit, ASEAN-India Informal Meet and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP Summit to review the progress made on the negotiations to finalize the proposed free trade agreement. Our correspondent covering the Prime Minister's visit has filed this report.
The sky of Singapore was cloudy, but New Delhi's vision was clear, as if it was a day of India in Singapore. At the RCEP summit, Prime Minister Modi made it clear that the final agreement has to be mutually beneficial to all and it should be fast-tracked. Only then it will be a game-changer deal. He told the US Vice President Mike Pence that the single source of terrorism is traced to Pakistan. Earlier, thousands of people waited eagerly to listen to Mr. Modi at FinTech Festival. When he emerged on the stage, the atmosphere reverberated with Modi, Modi. As he narrated the story of India, there was deafening applause after applause. The speech had humor, ideas, vision, and of course, invitation to come to India for startup and innovation. When he spoke of inclusive development and offered the expertise, this correspondent heard a journalist from Norway saying he is the man devoted to development. Naseem Naqvi, AIR News, Singapore.
The Election Commission has expressed satisfaction over the assembly poll preparations in Madhya Pradesh. Speaking at a press conference in Bhopal this evening, Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat said the Commission is committed to conducting a free, fair and transparent election. More from our correspondent.
District-wise preparations were reviewed by Election Commission during meeting with collectors and superintendents of police and officials engaged in electioneering in Indore and Bhopal. The Commission informed that the state election machinery has been directed to carry out effective steps to address issues raised by political parties. Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat and Election Commissioners Sunil Arora and Ashok Lavasa also launched Sugam Portal app to facilitate persons with disabilities and release CDs and sweep activities book during the visit. Many candidates of various political parties including BJP and Congress have withdrawn their names. Overall, 4,157 nomination papers were submitted in the state and 574 nominations have been cancelled during the scrutiny. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Chhattisgarh, electioneering has gained momentum in 72 constituencies which are going to polls in the second phase on November 20th. More from our correspondent.
Campaigning has intensified for the second phase of polling in Chhattisgarh. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and star campaigner of BJP and actress Hema Malini addressed election meetings at various places to seek support for BJP candidates. Congress President Rahul Gandhi also held public meetings at Korba, Bilaspur, Kabardha and Bhilai to canvass for his party candidates today. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In Mizoram, campaigning by parties has picked up throughout the state for the 40-seated assembly election. 209 candidates remain in the fray as 3 candidates have withdrawn their nomination. Today was the last date for withdrawal of candidature. The state is going to polls on the 28th of this month. Meanwhile, the Aizawl bench of the Guwahati High Court today stayed the final publication of the electoral roll for Kola sub-district of the state. In Rajasthan, on the third day of the nomination process today, 119 candidates filed 145 nomination papers, including many BJP and Congress MLAs. The BJP MP from Dausa, Harish Meena, and BJP MLA from Nagaur, Habibur Rahman, joined the Congress today. The BJP today released its second list of candidates for the assembly elections in Rajasthan. The list containing 31 names was finalized by the BJP Central Election Committee. The BJP has retained 6 MLAs and some ministers of the Rajay government. Polling for 200 assembly constituencies in the state will be held on the 7th of December. The winter session of Parliament will be held from the 11th of December till the 8th of January. This was decided by the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh in New Delhi. Talking to the media, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Vijay Goyal said 8 important bills are to be passed in the Rajya Sabha and 15 in the Lok Sabha. He said the government is ready to discuss every issue.
3 महत्वपूर्ण अध्यादेश इसमें हैं जिनको बिल के रूप में पारित करना आवश्यक है, जिसमें एक तो मुस्लिम महिलाओं के अधिकारों को लेकर है, दूसरा इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ मेडिकल अमेंडमेंट बिल है और तीसरा कंपनीज अमेंडमेंट बिल है। और इसके अलावा भी राज्यसभा में लगभग 8 और लोकसभा में लगभग 15 महत्वपूर्ण बिल ऐसे हैं जिनको पारित होना है।
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts. You can also log on to our website newsonair.nic.in. ISRO's heavy lift rocket GSLV Mark III has proven its reliability by successfully launching the communication satellite GSAT-29. It lifted off this evening at 0508 hours from the second launch pad of the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. In a little over 16 minutes, it injected the country's second high-throughput communication satellite GSAT-29 into the geostationary transfer orbit. ISRO Chairman Dr. Sivan, in his congratulatory message to his fellow scientists, said the GSLV Mark III has entered majestically into the list of operational launch vehicles today. He informed that the second mission to the moon, Chandrayaan-2, will be accomplished by January next and the manned mission to space, Gaganyaan, by December 2021. More from our correspondent.
The success of today's GSLV Mark III mission has given a significant lift to the future missions of ISRO. Besides boosting the morale of the National Space Agency, it also brings the moon mission Chandrayaan-2 one more step closer. Now India has yet another reliable and powerful rocket that can inject 4-ton class satellites in a geostationary transfer orbit. The textbook launched by the GSLV Mark III today conveys the message that it can significantly reduce the dependence on foreign launch facilities and brings the nation another step forward towards self-reliance in putting satellites in higher orbits. Jay Singh, AER News, Sriharikota.
Meanwhile, the President, Vice President and Prime Minister have congratulated scientists on the successful launch of GSLV Mark III D2 carrying GSAT-29 satellite. The Supreme Court today reserved its order on pleas seeking a court-monitored probe in the procurement of 36 Rafale fighter jets from France. A bench comprising Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi and Justices S.K. Kaul and K.M. Joseph concluded the arguments advanced by various parties. The petitioners have also sought registration of an FIR in connection with the alleged irregularities in the deal. The court said pricing details of Rafale jets could only be discussed after it decides on whether to make it public. The observation by the bench came after the government refused to publicly divulge pricing details of the deal, saying it would give advantage to India's enemies. The top court was hearing a bunch of pleas alleging criminality in the Rafale deal and seeking a court-monitored probe into it. The nation remembers its first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on his 129th birth anniversary today. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to Pandit Nehru on the occasion. President Ramnath Kovind met students from various schools and institutions at Rashtrapati Bhavan on the occasion of Children's Day. In a tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recalled Pandit Nehru's contribution to the freedom struggle and during his tenure as Prime Minister. UPA Chairperson Sonia Gandhi and former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh paid tributes to Pandit Nehru at a Samadhi Shantivan in New Delhi. World Diabetes Day is being observed today. The theme for World Diabetes Day this year as well as next year is the family and diabetes.
Over 425 million people in the world are currently living with diabetes. Most of these cases are type 2 diabetes, which is largely preventable through regular physical activity, a healthy and balanced diet, and the promotion of healthy living environments. According to WHO data, India has over 69.2 million people living with diabetes. Of them, it remained undiagnosed in more than 36 million people. Diabetes is a leading cause of heart disease, stroke, blindness, kidney failure, and lower limb amputation. Healthy diet, healthy weight, and physical activity are methods to prevent diabetes. With Dipendra, Suparna Sekya, AIR News, Delhi.
In badminton, PV Sindhu and Verma today advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of the Hong Kong Open at Kowloon. In their opening round matches, while Sindhu seeded third defeated Thailand's Nichao Jindapol, Samir beat another Thai, Supanyu Avinghansanon. And now, before we close, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterates India's commitment for concluding comprehensive and balanced regional economic partnership. On the sidelines of East Asia Summit in Singapore, Prime Minister holds talks with the Singaporean, Australian and Thai counterparts to boost bilateral relations. Election campaign picks up in Madhya Pradesh and Mizoram as deadline for withdrawal of nominations ends. Election Commission expresses satisfaction over preparations for assembly polls in Madhya Pradesh. Winter session of Parliament to be held from 11 December to 8 January. Communication satellite GSAT-29 launched successfully from Sriharikota. And in badminton, PV Sindhu, Verma and Kidambi Srikanth advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of Hong Kong Open. And that is all in the news at 9. Good night.